Come on.
Mark, how happy are you?
Come
You
on.
saw the Morosi report like I did.
Oh, we're all over that. Yeah, we're going to get into what Morosi said because it's not just a report. It's sort of a twist and a detail. I don't know if you. So did you
I was
see?
just reading it while it was breaking on my show.
Did you hear it? Did
No.
you see the whole conversation?
Do we have it?
We will.
Do we have
Yeah,
the sound?
they have
we
it.
got
I don't
it up
know.
in 11 minutes.
I don't know if they've.
It's
Yeah.
about right.
Can we play it
Yeah,
right now? I
somewhere.
want to hear it.
Well, so let me set it up though first.
Yes, please.
And I don't know if Sam.
If you guys wanted to
Sam
play
has
it,
it
your
up.
guy would have grabbed it.
Yeah,
But,
well, no.
we can share.
We can't even
Well,
screen calls.
So no, there's.
Wow.
No, I'm just teasing.
So
Shots
there's a somewhat. This is like a 10-minute video that I watched this morning at like 6:30 in the morning. So there's a conversation between Matt Vasgersian and Harold Reynolds.
Okay.
Okay. This is on MLB Network.
We were watching them earlier today.
Okay.
Vasgersian had a nice little collared shirt.
Yeah,
on.
he looked good, right?
Shout out to Rinda.
And Harold Reynolds just like in a green hoodie.
Yes.
But anyway, all good, right? So
Throw it to Sam Loveman when you're ready. He's actually ready.
They just to sort of encapsulate that conversation, Vasgersian's point was you can't leave the Yankees. You're homegrown. You're 62 homers. You're Aaron flipping Judge. The amount of money that's tied to being a Yankee and one
100%.
uniform for the whole. That was his point. He's like, they can't lose him, and he can't leave.
He's their only homegrown starter right now in the
Right.
last 10 years. It's crazy.
And so Reynolds is kind of, but there's 6 teams.
Yeah.
It might whittle down. Like, he's just kind of weaving through the, I don't know if I'm a player. I'm going to listen to everybody. And they have that conversation, and Vasgersian is very firm. No, he's not leaving. He can't leave. But he's doing it more logically, not reporting it. He's just like, he can't.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, let's go to JP Morosi. JP's been listening to this entire debate. And then, Sam, do you have it? Here's what JP says.
The Giants are a very realistic possibility. This is not a Yankees at 70% likelihood and the Giants at 30. I think that we are very close to 50-50, where if the Giants really step up and get that AAV up closer to $40 million a year, there's a legitimate chance that Aaron Judge becomes a San Francisco Giant. And a couple more notes on the discussion that you just had. Number one, let's take a step back and realize the offer that the Yankees made to Judge, total guarantee back at the end of spring training around opening day, was just less than $220 million. So Aaron Judge already, based on the numbers that Jeff has reported, and I believe that they are correct, he has already made himself guaranteed at least $80 million additional dollars. Let's think about that for a minute. He has made himself, by turning that offer down, an additional $80 million at least, and that number could go up. The other part here, and Harold referenced this a moment ago, I really believe that Aaron Judge won't sign with the Giants unless there is a credible and actionable plan to put a winning team around him that can get to the postseason. I don't think Aaron Judge will take on all that pressure and expectation of going across the country if he looks at the roster and says, we're going to finish 500 and behind the Dodgers and Padres. They're going to have to, whether it's Kodai Senga or one of the infielders, do something that validates Judge's faith. And that is where I think Farhan Zaidi has to come up with a comprehensive plan in the next week to 10 days that shows Aaron Judge, you're not just going to come here and make a lot of money, you're going to come here and win and make the playoffs in 2023.
So I find all of this.
There's a lot in there.
It's a percolation sensation.
And that's $1, and that's classic Morosi. We used to have him on a weekly, and he was good for about 2 questions in 17 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I do.
that was
Would be some
classic
Bubba.
Morosi.
We
right
know him
there.
as Bubba.
Yeah, I mean, is that his actual nickname, or are you guys?
Yeah, it's Bubba.
Where'd that
Remember
come
they
from?
did the players only in the nickname weekend in baseball where you put their nicknames on the back of the jerseys. So we asked JP Morosi, what was your nickname growing up? And it was Bubba.
This is like Mark calling Ramona Shelburne Momo. This is-
Momo.
That
That's
wasn't her
an
nickname
ESPN.
growing up. That was
yeah.
actually given to her by John Ireland when we all worked together.
You guys can go
710,
tit for tat on that.
Bubba-
Who's more of an insider with the insiders?
I met
right now?
Bubba at the Sharks playoff game because he also works for NHL Network. And I was like, Bubba, man. He goes, Bonte, your family. You can call me Bubba whenever you want to. So I call him Bubba.
All right, we'll use that.
So, let's get into what he
let's
actually
get
said.
it. Yeah.
No, I'm more interested in Bonte's close relationship with Jon Morosi than I am some free agent guy.
It's all positive. It's far from a lock. You can hear that, right? It's maybe 50-50. And the other thing, just to sort of respond to what I was listening to you guys say over the last hour, they can't finish in second. They can't finish in second. Let me adjust those words a little bit. They can't come in as anything other than the high bidder. It's not their choice. It's Aaron's choice. Aaron's got the power. So you could finish. This is actually one of the rare cases, because I believe athletes usually just take the high bid. But this is one of those rare cases where somebody could look at the Yankees at 300 and the Giants at 320 and decide the Yankees at 300 is worth more than 320.
Yes.
All I can ask
taxes?
Right. Well, or just
just the
pinstripes
valuation.
for life.
Yeah, exactly.
All I can ask of the Giants is to be the high bidder, and I think that's totally fair.
So let me add
that's
into
fair.
that. No, let me add into that, because that's not the way I interpreted what he said. What I interpreted what Jon Morosi said was that now Farhan or whomever has to also sell him
It's both.
on what the game plan
both.
is. So now I'm thinking to myself, yes, there's the financial component, which we kind of all knew, right? Money's got to
Totally.
be there.
And John said it's going to probably approach $40 million average annual value, which
Piece of
puts
cake.
the overall deal at probably 315 or 320.
yeah.
Well, he said approaching 40, which approaching 40 would be 320.
Okay.
Maybe it's 315.
Well, like you
maybe
and I
it's
talked about
310.
yesterday, who cares?
Yeah, like that
Exactly.
moment.
Over
Right.
8 years or
Yeah.
9 years, you're talking.
Right.
It's like buying a house. Like, I don't care.
And wouldn't you think
know?
that his trip out here and the day-long meeting, isn't that where they would have pitched him on the fact that
I
maybe
thought
they
so,
were going to
too.
bring in all those other
Oh,
players?
no doubt.
So
No doubt. No
so
doubt.
then
Yeah, they don't.
that
They
part
know
of the
this.
decision's already been done. I think the only thing that is yet to be determined, and maybe the offer's already been intimated what that number is going to be, but then he has to weigh it out. If he believes the Giants will build around him, and I'm sure they tried to sell him on that, if he buys in to what they're doing, then it comes down to the money.
There's a few things that are working in the Giants' favor. There's the obvious stuff working in the Yankees' favor. But the things that are working in the Giants' favor, if you look at this kind of timeline, right? That didn't surprise the Giants, what J.P. Morosi just said.
Yeah.
We've all been saying that for a couple months. Like,
Yeah.
why would Judge join this roster? There's going to need to be more. But then we've heard all the reports that the Giants are planning on more. Now, you've got to effectively go get that done. But if you look at the way Judge is playing this, it feels to me likely that what we're coming down to is the same thing we all do with decisions: heart or head. I think his heart is likely here. That's why it's played out the way it has. The Yankees had to bid first, not somebody else. And are the Yankees going to react to somebody else's higher bid? He wants to get it done early. That's more a Giants thing than a
Right.
Yankees thing.
That's-
He talked
yeah.
about wanting to build a roster around him. The Yankees roster's already built. So the fact that he's taking this meeting, the way he's playing free agency, there are things that point to the Giants' favor. And if his heart is here and his head, like Matt Vasgersian is going to say, all those voices being like, dude, you can't leave the Yankees. It's going to come down to heart versus head. And which do you listen to?
So you cannot dismiss the brand of the Yankees and being a Yankee lifer. All that, the cachet. There's a reason Reggie Jackson, who's not a Yankee lifer, is essentially on payroll for the rest of his life with the Yankees. There's cachet that comes with that. I actually look at their roster. Just look at their roster and look at their minor league system. I actually don't think they're that positioned quite well, the Yankees. Their major league roster is better than the Giants right now,
In the moment.
but they are stuck on some very bad contracts. Their farm system is very overrated. It's not that good if you really dive deep into it. And then I look at that division. As much as we make about the Padres and the Dodgers, can I make similar arguments in the AL East?
Wow, they got more good teams.
Definitely.
That's what I'm
They got
saying.
more good teams.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
right.
So
Yeah.
I think on the surface, it's easy to go, look at the Yankee situation. That's the winning team.
But
So
the
look at
track
Garrett Cole.
record of building, the track record of spending favors the Yankees because the
Who's won
Yankees
more
have gone
lately?
out. Well, the Giants had a fluky 1 year, 107 wins.
in the
but-
last decade, the Giants have been by far and away the more
I mean,
successful
and we
organization.
can draw the line on wherever we want in terms of, in
haven't
the
won
past
since 08.
70 years
Right,
or
but
however
Judge,
far back
but,
we want
but
to go.
look at
but-
Judge's career, though. Important
Right.
point.
Yeah.
He's never won there.
At all.
Yeah.
He's been there for a long
Well,
time.
they haven't won now
And
in
they
the
get
past
past
10
the
years, I don't
ALCS.
think.
What's
but-
that?
They can't get past the ALCS, and you
Yeah.
look at their contracts. To Butcher's point, Garrett Cole, 32 years
Stuck.
old, $36 million. John Carlos Stanton, 33, making 32 per. Josh Donaldson, 37, making
Such a
$21
bad
million.
deal.
Rizzo just resigned. He's 33 years old. DJ LeMahieu's 34, making 15 per.
But that money
Luis
hasn't
Severino.
prevented them from spending more money. And this is where Mark gets into the football and the salary
But-
cap. The
but their
Yankees,
roster, though,
the
what-
Yankees, though, have not ever been in a spot where, we're cash strapped
No.
and we won't spend.
It's not about the cash. It's about the roster.
Yes.
And the roster's not good
It's
enough.
kinda stuck.
Like
the roster's
Toronto,
better than the Giants right now.
Yeah, right now. But
mean, as
you look
it
at that
sits.
division, if you're Aaron Judge, Baltimore Orioles got a lot of young talent.
Yeah,
I watched them in
Baltimore's on
September.
the come. They look good.
Tampa Bay has dominated the
They're
Yankees in the last 6
always
years.
good.
Dominated the Yankees in the
And
last
the Red
6 years.
Sox are coming
And
back.
the Red Sox are
Boston
coming
will be
back.
back.
And
They're going to
Toronto
be
can play.
fine.
Toronto
Toronto's
can
got
shoot.
boppers.
Thank
Man,
you.
man. So, and the Giants, as old as they've been the last couple of years, have the ability right now to get young fast.
Thank you.
Right? There goes Belt. There goes Longo.
Exactly.
One more year of Crawford. And all of a sudden, you have the ability, depending on what you do free agency-wise,
Right,
depending on if anything starts coming out of the farm system, you have the ability, you haven't done it, but you have the ability more so than the Yankees to get young.
On the fly.
And
the
that's
fly.
that's
Yeah.
where the meeting was so critical because was Farhan and Patella and the rest of them, were they able to sell Judge on the
forgot
fact that people tell
I know, I forgot. No, it's a good point. I totally
Not just
forgot.
attending anymore.
Exactly. That's actually on his business card, not just attendant
I like
anymore.
that.
But were they able to sell Judge on the fact that they can do all those things that Mark is saying? Because Farhan hasn't shown that. He signed DeSclafani and Tommy LaStella as his big
Wilmer
long-term
Flores.
deal. So if you're Aaron Judge, that's a leap of faith to believe that they're going to be able to
Yeah.
really build around you.
Well, so I look at the Phillies too. Like when Bryce Harper signed there, I think they had Aaron Nola, and that was about
Reese Hoskins.
Okay, yeah, Reese
Yeah,
Hoskins, good
Reese.
call. They had Reese Hoskins, the Sacramento State kid, but they didn't have a whole lot. Then they made the trade for JT Realmuto, and then they eventually obviously brought in
Zach Wheeler.
And who's your guy? Castellanos,
Castellanos,
and
Nick
Schwarber,
Castellanos,
and all those guys.
JT
So
Realmuto.
it starts there. When Machado signed with the Padres, it was him and Hosmer.
Well, remember, free agents also talk.
Yeah.
They talk with each other. Like, just look at LeBron to Miami and back to Cleveland and watch the way that you can see how behind the scenes he conducted everything and knew who was going where, right? He knew about the Wiggins deal. He knew, right, Bosch, Wade, all that stuff. And so how do we know that Judge hasn't called Carlos Correa? How do we know that those, like he needs
Trey Turner.
Right? Trey Turner, I think, is going to end up in Philly. But
It feels like that.
Yeah,
Wow,
but
damn.
I know.
he wants to go east. I just think he really, really wants to go east.
And I guess he's friends with
And that's-
Bryce and all
that's
those
great
guys.
for the Giants,
Yeah.
by the
he
way.
came up and then
Yeah.
watched
Yeah.
That's
his
great for the
still.
Giants. Get him off the
Right.
Dodgers.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
fine.
with you
Or to go
there.
battle with the Braves and everybody.
Judge doesn't
Yeah.
have to just necessarily believe the Giants. You can go call those other free agents,
Right.
the agent world. They're speaking to each other. If you have a wink, like, yeah, man, do the deal and I'm coming too. If you have that, then, you can feel very confident.
Especially with this payroll, 2024, you have $28.5 million committed right now to the 2024 payroll of
That's
the
They got all-
Giants.
they got all the-
Crazy.
they got all the money
$3.5
they
million
need.
in 2025.
They got all the money they
Wow.
need, and they've said that publicly.
As hard as
So-
it was to wait, Mark, Dan, Bonte, as hard as it was to wait, we're now here. We're waiting for all those contracts to come off the books, and now they're finally here. It's just kind of crazy. I can't believe they're down to the last two.
I still think, though, like it, and I can feel the excitement that you guys were expressing all morning long, and it feels like a drum beat, but it is probably still, at this moment, kind of at best, 50-50. Like, I mean, this
I'll
is
take
still
50-50.
This is
I wonder if
this
it's
is
already
a
been decided.
monster.
I wonder if he's
Well,
already
You
decided.
think he's taking the money from one and going back to the other?
How do you approach those kinds of things?
Well, I think it comes down to the priorities. And if the money is relatively equal,
Right.
then it comes down to, do I want to be with the legacy team that I know is going to shovel money around me, or do I want to go home? And like you said, the head, the heart,
Right.
that's kind of the interesting way to look at it.
Don't you think most of us go into big decisions with plenty of preconceived notions, plenty of this one's the leader, this is what I want to do, but now we got to go through the process to see if it actually can someone convince me otherwise. Does this feel right? Like how many kids have you seen go off to their college
And it doesn't
tours
work.
and they're like, I want to go there, and then you see it and you're like, boo, no. So I actually think, and we had plenty of inside whatever conversation or buzz over the last couple months,
Right.
that Judge, based on what the Yankees did to him at the beginning of the year and just the draw home, I think his heart wants to come to the Giants, but he also needs to be like, now let me go feel
Assured.
Yeah.
And can the Yankees change my mind back? And that's pretty powerful.
It's so interesting.
It's pretty powerful.
As you look at these big decisions, and we've all made them. I mean, you made a huge leap, Bonte, when you left the situation that you were at a radio station. All three of us actually were over there. All three of us individually had to weigh the same thing: head versus heart. How you went through your own process, and what ultimately was the tiebreaker on why you made that decision.
And I bet for each one of us, what made us tick in that moment in our lives and that decision was different.
Yeah.
And so that's what I always remember with free agents is we can sit here and go, Linden's an hour and a half away.
Right.
And Mom's got a good relationship. And
I was thinking about that situation now.
Who the hell?
That was such an easy decision.
Who
But I gotta ask. I gotta ask.
Who knows?
Like, who knows? Like, go. Why does it get out of here?
But who knows?
Seriously.
Who knows what makes him tick? Who knows? Who knows?
You're
what's
right,
If the
Greg.
Giants don't sign Aaron Judge, how can you spin that to this fan base?
So here's the thing, and here's
There's only one way.
Here's what I worry about:
Signing
Because-
other guys? Or?
Well, what Mark said, I think is true. If you're like, look, we offered him 320 and he took 300 to stay in New York, what do you want me to do? I mean, that's how you spin it. And it's a tough sell, but
and the hard part is putting that out there publicly because in baseball, you don't want to tell free agents that if you don't take our deal, we're now going to publicly have a press conference to rip you for not taking our deal. And the players' union and other
delicate,
players are
yeah.
not going to like the idea that Aaron took less money
Well, it
if it
gets
were to do
leaked.
that. It does. There's a way to
we've
do
seen
it.
leaks in this town before.
Sure, but that's dicey. That's dicey, and
That too.
a public contract.
Niners taxes.
Yeah, but a public contract conversation is what got Aaron into this with the Yankees.
Yeah.
They had a press conference and be like, "Well, he didn't take this, and he didn't like that." So I don't know. It's dicey, but you guys are right. Like if they lose, you got to somehow get word to your fan base that it wasn't because, like Bryce, well, we came in $20 million short because we felt that was right. They can't do that this time.
I'm just happy.
can't do that
Look,
this
I'm
time.
not trying to play like I love second place because I know Bonte was coming at me. But like the reality is, middle of the season, no way is Aaron Judge even going to consider
Right,
the Giants, right?
right.
It sounds good
That's
on
what I was
Bleacher
saying.
Report, right? It sounds good on like an article or when you read it on The Athletic. But then like you get closer and it's like, now we're down to 2. Right? Whether he takes the Giants or not, we're down to 2. The fact that they're even here, that blows me away. Look, I know I want to be. You know I'll be disappointed if we don't
can't
get him.
live with them coming in second on
I'm
this
not
deal.
saying that.
But
I'm just
what if-
saying I'm
but what if-
surprised that it's here.
Yeah.
What if you do find out that they were the high bidder and they still come in second? Then what would you say?
I'd be like, damn, we really suck. There's not a lot of talent here. There's not a lot of talent. No,
then
seriously.
you have to take a
It'd be
hard
it'd
look
be
at why.
You know?
Why would he? If you offer 310 and they offer 300, and he says no, thank you to an extra 10 million, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, why would he not take more money? What's wrong with us to where he wouldn't want to come
So
here?
I'd
long way
encourage
away.
you. I'd encourage
Right.
each and every one of you, or we can end up cutting this, Kyle, and sort of getting a piece of it. But this is what Vasgersian was talking about on MLB Network that set up JP for those comments. He was making the case that less money with the Yankees
Is worth more.
Still
There you
is
go.
worth more down the road, and so
It's like being
I got
the
it right
quarterback
here.
of the
Okay,
Cowboys
all
right.
and getting a chunky soup commercial, et cetera, as
Right.
opposed to being the Titans quarterback.
If you take this deal in New York City, you better win.
But and here's my response.
Right?
He was born a Yankee, so the burden of expectation isn't as great. And the case in point here is Giancarlo Stanton. Giancarlo Stanton does not get the same largesse and same consideration from Yankee fans as Aaron Judge does. If both are going bad, the guy they're going to jump on more is Stanton because he wasn't born a Yankee. So when you stay with your brand, you buy a little bit more consideration. I would also say this, and I don't know how we got so long on Judge because
No,
we
this
want
is good.
to talk to you on something else,
it's the main
JP.
story
But I
of
would
the
say this.
sport.
Guys don't think about, look, after your playing career is done, you're done. You've made a ton of money, and it's going to come from whomever, the Yankees, the Giants, the Pirates, whatever. After you're done, how do you want to look at your own career? Do you want to be that guy that spent 13, 14, 15 years with the New York Yankees and have your name and number in Monument Park and go away a legend? Or do you want to be a really good rich player that spent some time with a bunch of teams? It's the Yankees. It's not like you're staying a lifetime bad news bear. There's value there.
No, I'm with you.
I get that money
100%.
talks, but the player look at yourself in 20 years and think of who you want to be at that point, because you're going to be rich either way.
okay. So here's what's real fascinating to this.
That's a fraudulent premise. By the way.
but there's
Yeah,
an
Randy
example.
Johnson didn't want to be a Yankee.
No, but let's
Barry
look
Bonds was not born a Giant.
No,
Yeah,
but
I
look
agree
at
with
Buster
that.
Posey, who's now part of the ownership group, and would he be if he had split his career? Like, I'm not going to deny there is financial value to what he's saying, to staying in one uniform.
Yeah.
Steph Curry, all the players like that, there's value there. The second thing that came up next, though, and I think it was JP that hopped back in and said this and goes, I wonder if Aaron Judge called Albert Pujols yet and asked him, what would you do if you could go back and do it again?
Wow.
Now, he circled back and got his flowers and his tour with St. Louis at the end, and that was poetic.
He had a lot of forgettable years.
But
with
he
the
had
Angels.
a lot of forgettable years.
Dodger.
Yeah,
And
I
he was a
know.
Dodger.
The
More
Topman
memorable with
catch.
the Dodgers.
Right.
I mean, that's a draw.
so let me ask
We have to acknowledge that
No, I
as
agree.
Giants fans, that what he's saying, Monument Park and lifetime in one uniform, and particularly that uniform, like
But
that's
not
a
everyone
thing.
aspires to that. Like Dwight
No, no.
Dwight Howard didn't aspire to being a Laker, for example. There are examples. I will say this fan base, Giants fans, and maybe I'm in the middle of it, and so I'm biased. Hunter Pence, was he born a Giant?
No.
No.
We sure as hell embrace him.
No, of course. So
We
it
sure
can,
do.
It
I
can
mean,
happen.
I'm just being real.
It can happen.
It can absolutely
Will
happen. And if
Clark
you're Aaron Judge
bounced around.
It's
and
unquestioned
you're
if you
having
don't
the
win.
career
Will
that
Clark-
you want to have, and you're going to hit 500 career, 600 career, if he's a Giant for 8 years, then who cares if I'm in Monument Park or not if he ends up having
Exactly.
600
No,
career?
Again, I don't know if
Will
he
Clark
cares.
left
I don't know.
Texas. Now he's got his jersey retired
Yes.
with the Giants.
And it was an Oriole.
Right.
Like, I'm looking at Gaylord Perry today. He passed away today.
Yeah.
He played for 1 million teams.
Yeah.
1 million teams. He
Oh,
still
it's
gets
not
the
a-
love
it's
and
not a-
adoration.
It's not a death blow.
No, I
by
know,
any
but I think
stretch.
Vasgersian is putting it out there like
but
that.
we don't know through how many years has Aaron played so far?
Six. This is six.
I
Okay.
remember Vasquez
All right,
is
so-
an A's fan.
Because you get arbitration, right?
Right.
Six.
So
Little haterade.
I have no idea what has gotten into Aaron's psyche and DNA through his current
Yeah.
Yankee career. So does that matter to him? If he comes to San Francisco and has the second half of his career that mirrors the first half of his career, what do you have then afterward? Do the Yankees still honor you? Do they bring you back like a Will Clark and go, okay, you're one of us? Do they not? Does that matter to him?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Would he rather that happen here? Would he want a statue at Oracle Park? Does he have that in him with probably, let's be honest, 6 good years left and then maybe a couple of wonky ones on the back end? I don't know. There's no way for – so if they lose him, I would want to know, A, were you the high bidder? And I would also want to know, B, Aaron, what mattered to you
what
in
was
this?
part of your decision?
What mattered to you in this?
So that's what's coming up on your show. We got show
That's
meeting
coming
here.
up.
We got a bowl.
Yeah, do your thing.
Show me what else. Anything on Niners Dolphins?
Absolutely. I mean, Mike Silver and Sean Salisbury are both going to be on the show.
Oh, nice.
I think, ponder this, right? Mike McDaniel.
Dr. Ponda?
All this, yeah. Pondia this.
That's a one.
I was trying to go. I was a reach.
Y'all seen
I
all
almost tore my labrum.
Y'all seen the stories this week of Mike McDaniel and how he made Tua really realize that he
This is
believed
really cool.
in him.
Yeah.
And that's brought out the best in Tua. And don't we have like the clear opposite with the 49er quarterback?
The dichotomy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
interesting.
That'd be an interesting thing to
That's
get
very
into today. Yeah.
All right,
And
good stuff.
Kyler. We'll get to Kyler.
Oh, Kyler.
Oh,
You know
Kyler.
what? Patrick Peterson's a bum for that. All right, say Patrick Peterson's a bum for that.
That's a little bit
What do you
outside
say?
the code.
Yeah,
A little bit outside
that
the
was
code.
weak.
But
There
he's
is
probably-
no
he's probably-
code in the
he's
new
probably not
media.
I was
wrong,
going to
though.
say, do we have the
He's
Memphis
not
coach
wrong.
on later with Draymond?
It's
Right.
the new media. There is no code.
Yeah.
As long as I can get clicks. It's clickbait,
No
Mark.
code. Good Pearl Jam album, just like your jacket.
There you go.
I'll
Have a
take
good
your
show,
word for
fellas.
it.